So let's talk a little bit about boundaries and how they could be really hard. I mean, particularly for women like us, we were not raised with, um, you're allowed to have boundaries. That was like, it was forbidden. So how do we invite those boundaries into our lives, to our businesses, to the way we interact with ourselves?
I think
Boundaries are my favorite topic in the whole
oh,
world because I always joke and I feel like I have to be in integrity. Like I have worked my whole entire 52 years of my life on setting boundaries, and it has been really hard. I have lost friends, I have lost family members, I could go on, but really realizing, not to do it all maybe at the same time, but if you don't set boundaries, no one's going to set them for you. No one's going to be like, oh, I'm sorry that I'm completely monopolizing everything in your life. And there's kind ways to set boundaries. And I think as women, we don't want to be mean about it, but it is very hard. There's grief and loss, I think, in setting boundaries, which doesn't often get talked about, but it is life changing. And I feel like you can't do a lot of the other work in therapy until you start setting those boundaries, because you can work so hard and someone comes back in and takes over that space and you're back at baseline.
And, one of the things I try, Cynthia, and tell me if this aligns with what you're saying, is people don't necessarily have to end up in cutoffs. Sometimes a cutoff is super healthy, but I think a lot of times a cutoff is just a representation of someone being overwhelmed and not being able to set a boundary. And so instead of needing to go to the cutoff, it's like, oh, you're doing that thing again.
Yes.
I've let you know I'm going to get off the phone when you do that thing, and I'll call you back later, or call me later when you're calm, or right, something like. So it's actually the best boundaries, in my opinion, are an invitation into a different level of connection in our world, not this nasty shove out.
No, as long as they respect them.
But the thing is if they don't respect them, it's like, then you said it again, and then you said it again, and then maybe the boundary gets even tighter, right? Like, oh, it seems like we can't talk on the phone. I'll send you a text, right? Or whatever.
yeah, I agree. I really appreciate the conversation about boundaries being about they're internal. It starts with us. We can't control what other people do. We can only identify what is okay, what's not okay for us. And that could be very small tweaks. It could be something bigger. It could be a protective boundary. It could be a negotiated boundary.